All of you, I think by now you have heard comments. You see, this preacher who tells you that God can protect you, and yet he's protected by human beings. How come God, his own God, cannot protect him? Sounds so reasonable.
Hello everyone, welcome to Live Matters Update. I believe you are here by prophecy, and I'd like you to remain here because we update our channel with life transforming messages. I don't want you to miss it. So kindly hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. Make sure you click the bell also for daily updates. God bless you. Bye.
Have you ever heard people saying, if you are a preacher and you preach that God protects, and they see you walking around with bodyguards? All of you, I think by now you have heard comments. You see, this preacher who tells you that God can protect you, and yet he's protected by human beings. How come God, his own God, cannot protect him? Sounds so reasonable. The enemy thinks a lot. So according to him, as long as the bodyguard is involved, God is not. So if God can protect the king, there is no more need for the bodyguard. That's what they're saying. If God can protect the president, there is no more need for a bodyguard. That's how shallow some people are. And the shallowness is so deep, yet shallow. Yet shallow. Because to them, if God is to protect, then no human being should be involved. That's the kind of a God they serve. Okay, let me bombard you with a scripture a bit. So, when the Bible says, if God doesn't protect a city, the watchman will wake up in vain, or will protect it in vain. If God doesn't, then the watchman, the security person, will work in vain if God doesn't.
Psalms 127 verse 1. Except the Lord build the house.
We'll come back to the house. Let's go to the security.
Except the Lord keep the city.
Unless God keeps the what?
The city. The watchman waketh but in vain.
So does that mean then that we have to dismiss the guards? If God is the one keeping the city, do we then have to dismiss the guards?
No.
You will know very soon that that's not the meaning of the scripture. What the scripture is saying is, hear me. Even those with a responsibility to keep, God must be involved in that career. So the keeper of the city, God must be involved in his ability to keep. So if God is to withdraw his ability and his grace and his intelligence from the keeper of the city, then the city gets exposed. God is not saying fire him and hire me so that I keep your city. No. He's saying you have to have a person on the ground that I inspire. Okay, that part you might not get it. Look at the first part. The first part had said, unless God builds the house.
Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it.
Okay, so now let's fire all the constructors. Every bricklayer fired. Let's see if we are ever going to have a house. When it gets to the house, you can actually see that God is not saying the builder of the house is now worthless. No. The scripture is saying unless God builds. So let's wait for him to build. Let's wait for him to build. Then you look at certain people, you wonder, but how can people, maybe it's out of jealousy, and they end up thinking like that. Even if your IQ is at the level of a mice. A mice you find digging a hole. A mice is intelligent enough to know that what God has already built is earth. But my house, I have to personally do. In as much as God has the ability to build, he has given me a place. It is up to me to find where to stay. I have to do it myself in as much as God is the builder. Are we going to have a building unless we have builders? We need builders, yet unless God builds. So how is God going to build? The bricklayer must then know that the grace that is upon his life to lay bricks, it's a calling from God. It's an assignment from God. If God is to come and is to build a city, we still have to employ people on the ground that God will then use. We have given God people to use. So all of us, we are aware, it's so clear. If you fire a bricklayer, you won't have a house. Though you have God, you won't have a house. I guarantee you that. He will not build it for you. So if it's clear that we cannot fire a bricklayer and still have a house, it means you cannot fire a bodyguard and still have security. So God is saying, put these people into place and then I will work through them. But a bodyguard wants to leave his responsibility. He wants to become the one to be guarded. Why? Because you underestimated your role. You thought it was inferior. And yet God is declaring, unless I keep, it means if the city is safe, it goes to show God's level of participation in their occupation. The security people. So God is saying, I'm involved. That day, so when the missiles were coming, there was a woman in bed with her 2 daughters, unaware of the danger that was coming. And the next morning, she's awake, she's alive. Yet something happened in the middle of the night. Who took care of that? It was God through intelligence.